Hello everyone, it's Helen here with Helen with Helen. Thanks for joining me. I have a few minutes to burn, so I thought this would be the perfect time to make a video on how to start up a small business 101. I'm going to do the simplified version because we're running short on time, but I'm really excited about this because first and foremost, to be able to start up a small business, you have to have a passion for it. You have to have a dream. You have to have a desire. And if you have all of those things, you are 50% there already because you're just like, yes, I want to do this. You have this inner desire where you're going to thrive. So that is the thing that we're looking for. And it can be anything really. It could be from making 300 cupcakes on a weekend just because you can and you love it. My best friend just did that for a wedding and I'm just like, wow, she's so good at it. And I'm always, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm thinking of ways that people can capitalize. So automatically I see her in a bakery, right? That's the way my brain works. Or I have another friend who makes jewelry and she goes to every craft fair that she possibly can to sell this jewelry. And it's amazing. It's amazing. She sells herself short every single time. She's like, I'll give you these amazing earrings for $5. And I'm thinking, $50, right? You know, because I'm seeing like you can really do something here. And so you got that. Or you got somebody who spends every weekend maybe in the garage and they're woodworking, they're making cutting boards and tables and stands and they're staining. And I'm just like, why are you not doing this full time? Because this is where they thrive. This is where they light up. These are their passions, their hobbies that they could take to the next level. And I always encourage people to do that because so often people get stuck. They get stuck for whatever reason it is. I mean, people get stuck obviously financially. People get stuck out of fear. They get stuck out of fear of rejection and failure. Or, you know, there's that, or maybe just being comfortable. Like, you know, I'm good. I don't want to try anything else. You know, I'm good just doing this as a hobby. But genuinely, they would thrive if they just took that step. And so I absolutely just know when somebody plants that seed and they are ready to be a business owner, it's just like nothing is more exciting. In fact, I think sometimes I get more excited for them than they are. So, okay, so you got a dream, you got a passion, you got a desire. Next, you're probably going to want to have a little bit of training. This is up to you what kind of training you get. Okay, so you've dialed it in. This is what I want to do. You're going to start doing your research. You're going to see, okay, what is this going to take for me to get this business up and going? It could be numerous things, right? I believe that you should probably have some experience in the area before you just up and start a business. Now, I get it. Sometimes you look at somebody's job and you're like, oh, that'd be amazing. I want to do that. But if you've never done that before, that can be a little bit iffy. Sometimes it probably could be a great success. Other times it could be a huge failure. It would really just depend on the type of person you are and the dream that God put in your heart. But I kind of think that you probably should at least get a little bit of experience. So whether that means job experience where you go and you work under that, you know, profession for a little while. I'll use my example. Like I was a coffee shop owner. I was a barista before I was a coffee shop owner. So I knew the love that I had for coffee, the love that I had for people. I got the experience on how to run a shop, you know, so I learned it from different managers because I work at different coffee shops. So I really think the experience definitely comes in handy, although it's not always necessary. I would say potentially get a certificate. Maybe, you know, like right now I'm getting into the life coaching, Christian life coaching. So I'm going to take my experience that I had for 20 years in the coffee shop business. And then I'm going to also get a certificate with my life coaching, which I just received. And then I'm going to go into the area that I'm wanting to go into. So again, you know, I did some research, I got my certification. So, you know, again, you're just kind of looking into whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And so then maybe it's college. Some people want to go to college, some don't want to college, you know, so it's just like, that's neither here nor there. I did go to college. I got an associate of science degree. I took all my prerequisites, the normal ones, and of course the psychologies and the sociologies, because, you know, I love to learn about people and, you know, your environment. And then of course I started taking things that kind of went more into where I'm at, which was bar and beverage management courses. And I wasn't even in the coffee shop business at that point in time. So it must have been something that was instilled in me because obviously I ended up using it later on. I did the bartending academy as well. And I did not, you know, do bartending. However, I became a professional mixologist. And that I believe helped me with my coffee shops too. So I just think any type of training, any type of experience that you can get is obviously going to help you down the road, especially in your business. So just something to think about. And of course, there's always like different trade schools and so on and so forth. So you've got that. And then once you have a little bit of training, then you come with the vision. I mean, you may have been envisioning this all along. So you got to have a vision for it. You got to actually see it. You got to see it happening. You got to see like, okay, this is what I envision this looking like. And this is the most exciting part for me. Every single time that I started one of my coffee shops, because I had 4 of them, I would get like a portfolio book and I would start drawing it out. I'd actually get out my colored pencils and I would draw it out. And every time it was different. It was kind of like, okay, I want it to be this color. I want the roof to look like this. I want the counters to be here. I want the flooring to look like this. This is the color scheme. This is what I want my signage to look like. This is what I want the font to look like. I would write out my menu boards, and every single time it was different. And I'd come up with different names and I'd just be super creative. And that was part of the fun of it, right? It's just like seeing it on paper, like, yes, once you have a vision and it's locked in there, it's almost unstoppable because you know it's going to happen. You're like, yes, this is going to happen. So once I would get that done with, it's like, okay, next step. Now we're going into cost. You're definitely going to want to write everything out. Write it out in your portfolio book. Use this much for drawing out what it's going to look like, and then use the rest to draw out the cost and start literally listing things one by one. I'm going to use my coffee shop, for example. Like I would list, okay, I'm going to need this many syrups. This is the kind of syrups I'm going to go with. This is the cost of these syrups. I'm going to need an espresso machine. I'm going to need a bean grinder. I'm going to need a cash register. I'm going to need an air conditioner. I'm going to need flooring. I'm going to need paint. I'm going to need blinds. I'm going to need open signs. So on and so forth. So for me, I would write it all out, and then I would go and find out, okay, what's going to be the cost? What's going to be the cost of this blender, and go from there. And then you have a really great idea of what it's going to cost for your supplies, what it's going to cost if you have to build it, or what it's going to cost if you have to remodel it. And I've done both. So my husband and I actually built a coffee shop from the ground up, and we also went into coffee shops that were already there, and we just gutted them out and we revamped them. So you're going to want to have a cost. And I always like to tell people, give yourself some sludge room for sure. You always think like, okay, as long as I have X amount, I'm good. No, there's always going to be unexpected stuff that pop up. Always. And things are always going to cost a little bit more than you're expecting them to. So if you have the ability to take out, I would say anywhere between an extra $10,000 to $20,000, which I know sounds like a lot, especially when you're thinking small business, do it. If you can't, it's not a deal breaker. There were times where I didn't have $10,000 to $20,000 extra dollars. I didn't have $20 extra dollars, and I did it because I wanted to, because I had a passion. And once I get something locked in, it's done. So if you don't have the extra, great. You can buy things later on as you go along. I'm just saying, if you have that option. All right. So now you've got the cost portion out. Well, now we got to go talk to a bank, right? So we're going to bring everything that we have to this point to the bank. We're going to bring our enthusiasm for the business we're wanting to open. We're definitely going to bring the sheet that we drew up of, this is what I want my business to look like. You've got to bring in costs to them. So they're definitely going to want to see like, how much money are you needing and what are you going to be spending it on? So this is critical. And another thing, up until this point, this is probably something from the minute you start having this desire, this dream to start a small business, you're going to be looking for location. You're going to definitely be checking out your city, your town, and saying like, okay, where could I put this business? Where am I going to work out of? Because the bank's going to want to know this. So when you start interacting with the bank, when you get to that point, you're going to be wanting to also be interacting with people who own the lot to where you may want to put your business, or maybe where you're going to want to start up your business. So maybe it's not a lot per se, but maybe it's a shopping mall, or maybe, you're going to build. So you're the land. So you're going to want to find out who owns this property, who owns the land, who owns this. And you're going to start contacting people to see like, okay, could I even get a place in this area where I'm wanting to? Because that's going to be critical for the bank too, because they're going to want to make sure that wherever you're going, one, they're going to sign a lease with you, or they're going to let you buy this piece of property, and that it's going to be successful, because that's super important to the bank. Banks are not just going to lend you money. I know we think in our mind like, oh yeah, I want to start up a business, the bank's going to lend me money. It doesn't work like that. The bank's going to want to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and they're going to want to make sure that they get paid back. So they're a little bit weary, and they're going to want to know that you have a plan. And that goes into the experience side of it too. do. I mean, I'm not saying that a bank will not lend you money if you don't have experience in a certain field and you want to start up a small business, but they are a little bit more weary, for sure, because I know that when I went in, even getting my 4th coffee shop, getting a loan for it, they were a little bit like, okay, what's the location and what are you doing? And, are you going to be able to make your payments? And, is this going to be high traffic enough? And so they want to know all of this, and they want to know that you've been doing it for a while, because they don't want to lend money to somebody maybe who's just going to get in there and have no experience, and then after a few weeks recognize like, this isn't for me, and then all of a sudden they're going to be belly up. So the bank is definitely going to be looking at all the different factors before they lend you money. All right, so sometimes banks look at it and they're like, not going to work, we're not going to lend you money. I don't want you to be discouraged, because I had that happen to me twice, where banks were like, we're not going to lend you money. So you have to keep trying. Go to every financial institution that you possibly can and present them with what you want to do. And just coming in with your passion, saying, this is what I want to do, showing them that you're prepared, showing them the cost and what you're going to be able to. You're going to have numbers. Like, this is my projected amount of what I think I'm going to make. This is what I think my loss is going to be. I mean, they're going to want to see all of it. But you know what? It's really exciting. If this is something you want to do, this isn't like hard work to you. This is like, you're going to want to know this information as well. And so don't give up. Continue to go to financial institution after financial institution. Eventually, somebody is going to lend you that money. I had that happen on my last shop. And I'm so glad almost that it did, because I ended up at the right place. They were wonderful to work with. So I started networking through friendships, and one of my girlfriends said, hey, come over to my bank, and talk to them here. I'll get you hooked up with a loan officer. And he made it so easy. Everything was flowing. And guys, you will know if God's hands on something if it is flowing. You almost can't stop it. And I've talked about this before, but it's so true. If it's something that God wants you to do, even if you hit a few little roadblocks, or maybe if you even if it gets a little bit tricky or hard, if his hand's on it, you're going to know it. Everything's just going to keep doing this. And if his hand's not on it, well, then that means he's probably has something better for you anyways. So if the bank says it's a no-go and you still feel in your heart, I am supposed to do this, I want to do this, this is what I'm going to do, this is where you start getting a little resourceful. Maybe you go back to the bank and you talk to them and say, okay, what are my other options here? Because a lot of the times the bank will lend you money if you put up a second mortgage for your house, which is a little bit scary. Again, starting a small business, I know some people are like, ooh, I wouldn't want to do that. But if it's a passion and desire and you really feel like this is what you're supposed to do, that might be something that you might consider. Sometimes they will let you put your vehicles up against the loan. So maybe if you have collateral, like maybe if you have a motorhome, maybe you have trucks, cars, different things like that, maybe the bank will say, okay, yeah, we'll give you this loan, but you're going to have to put your vehicle up against this loan, which, is another option for you. Sometimes, maybe a family member would lend you the money. If you go and you present your beautiful portfolio to them and they know that you have this passion and desire and you drop a contract with them, maybe they'll lend you the money for your small business, especially if it's pretty small, Like one time my dad, it was my second coffee shop. I couldn't get a loan for it. And my dad was like, you know what? Your mom and I will be the bank for this. But we actually went to the bank. We drew up a contract. We had it notarized. And my dad made me pay him every single month with interest. And you're probably thinking, your dad? I'm like, yes, my dad. But my dad was all business. He had a business over 40 years, and business was business. Love was love, and business was business. And I love that he operated like that. So we went to the bank, we signed a contract, and every month I paid him a payment until it was paid off. So maybe you will have a family member who could do that. And then of course you could always use a credit card, maybe like a low interest credit card, which is, I know you're thinking, but if it's a small business, maybe that's something that you can do. And then maybe later on you could get a loan to pay off that credit card once you get your feet wet and you get established. So there are different options that you can look into as far as cost. So if everything goes well on that, and then the bank ends up giving you that loan and you have the green light, so now you have a location, you have your loan from the bank, now you can get things rolling, you can get started, you can start applying for your business licenses, and then you get a hold of your accountant and you ask him if you want to set up an LLC, if you want to be a sole proprietor. Your accountant will have all of that information for you depending on the kind of business that you're going to set up. It'll depend on how many employees you're going to have, and then he's going to get you going in the right direction as far as the tax department. Like when I had the coffee shop, I had to do like quarterly taxes on my sales. It got to the point where I was super busy, so I was doing monthly sales tax, and so it just depends. And then of course you'll do your quarterly employee taxes. So there's all sorts of different stuff that can be a little tricky, and your accountant will definitely be able to answer all of that information for you. And then another thing is advertising. You know, advertising has actually become really easy because we have social media. So you can put anything out there, right? You know, for your business, that's how you can promote yourself. You can do business cards. You got the static boards. You could also do movie theaters. I think that is great. I know it can be a little bit pricey, but my goodness, when you're eating a big bowl of popcorn and you're sitting there watching those ads come through, it's just like, I'm watching, I'm looking. I think it's great advertising if you can afford it. So, but obviously if you're just getting started up, word of mouth and just simple social media is the best way to go. And as far as collecting payments, so once you get your business going or get ready to get it going, you're going to want to open up a business account. So that's going to be critical, and your accountant will let you know that as well. You're going to want to have an account that is strictly business. It's super duper important to just make sure that your business is your business and that you are keeping all of your receipts, all documentation, you know, put it in fan folders, put it in manila envelopes, obviously keep your bank statements. You want to keep every single thing that you possibly can. I have years worth of boxes of that kind of stuff, and especially if you were to get audited. So you're definitely going to want to keep all of that. So open yourself up your business checking. For me, I have been using in the past, probably 8 years, this company called Square. It's amazing. So you take this little device, you plug it into your phone or to your iPad or into your POS, and you just swipe their debit card when they're using, you know, their debit information, and it's super duper easy. They take a small little fee, and then your funds get put into your checking account the very next day. It's amazing. I've never had any problems with them. They're completely trustworthy. I've tried other things in the past which they did not work as well, and they were super expensive. You'd have to buy their equipment, you'd have to pay these crazy fees. So again, I know a lot of hairstylists, a lot of small businesses, and other people use Square. So look into it. Some of it, you can buy the chip readers. You can buy some that just have like the magnetic reader. And then some you can even get like the POS, the whole system, which is awesome too. But they make it so user-friendly. You can put all the different like services that you offer in there, and you're just like ping, 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 ping. It gives you a total. And like I said, you're paid the next day. Amazing. So I would highly recommend that as well. So hopefully this helped you guys. I gave you a little bit of basic information, but if you have any more questions for me, shoot them in the comment section. I can also make another video on this. I just thought, since I'm about to start another small business, I'm going into life coaching, that this would be the perfect time to make a video on small biz. As far as my life coaching, there is not near as much overhead. And so this is exciting in a way for me, just because it's just like I've been going at a fast pace for 20 years. And so for this life coaching thing, obviously I don't have a bunch of crazy supplies, and I don't have to go get a bunch of crazy licenses and do all those things. The only things that I really had to do to get this one up and going and rolling is, as I said, I got a certificate. And so I did a little bit of schooling for it. I had to find a location. I found a prime location in the downtown area, which location is key to a successful business. So you're going to want to do your research. And just because it's high traffic doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful. I had a high traffic location. It just wasn't the best location. So you're definitely going to want to look around and find the best location for your business if you want it to be successful. So I found a great location, and then I talked to my accountant. So we got me squared away on all of my tax information. Now I have to call an insurance agency, and I have to get some liability insurance just in case somebody were maybe to fall down the stairs, or something were to happen. Anything could happen, right? People are so crazy. So I definitely am going to get a small little liability insurance for my business. I used probably $2,500 to buy some furniture and get a desk and some chairs and some decor, and just to make it look nice. And so it looks amazing. So that was it. And really that's going to be about it. There's not a lot of costs. And of course, rent. I have a monthly rent, and I signed into a year lease, and me and my girlfriend and I were actually splitting the space. She's a photographer, so she's taking up one side. I have the other side. We won't be in there at the same time. And so that's another way to cut costs as well too. If you're just getting into something, maybe share a space with somebody until you get established, and then if you want, you can go on your own. So that's what I have, guys, for you. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that this helped, and I look forward to making more videos. Bye.